all of life is relationship. All of life is relationship. This is what Louise Hay tells us in our book of the month, which is You Can Heal Your Life. She goes on to explain how we have relationships with everything. We have relationships with everything. Our family, our friends, the grocery store clerk, the other drivers on the road, with our spiritual center, with me, with my voice, with this message, with these words. We have a relationship with everything, don't we? And all of these reflect our relationship with ourselves. How we connect with life. How we connect with life. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, author of The Science of Mind, he says that the law is a law of reflection. For life is a mirror, reflecting to us as conditions the images of our thinking. Whatever one thinks tends to take form and become part of his experience. And Louise says, of course, that relationships are mirrors of ourselves. So in our teaching, we are taught that we must first become that which we are seeking to experience in our life. Now, I don't know about you, but the first time I heard that, it didn't make a lot of sense. I met with a practitioner, and I sat down with her, and I was at that time trying to manifest a relationship in my life. And I said, look, I need to manifest a relationship, so pray for me, okay? Just make it happen, right? Can tell y'all I've been in this teaching for a while. I was new at the time. But anyway, she began to explain to me that I needed to first become what I was seeking, which was love. I said, no, you're missing the point. I need you to bring it to me. I don't have it. So she began to explain to me what that meant. Of course, it's all about self-love and being love and coming from a place of love and seeing all as love and reflecting love and attracting love because I am love. And that's the basis of that idea. We must first become that which we seek because we have to come from that place of it, right? We have to come from that place of it in order to be a match for it, So what I was doing in my life at that time that was frustrating was I was attracting every 40-year-old bachelor on the planet. This was a long time ago, well before our, current situation. And I was getting frustrated with this, right? And then I began to blame them, the male race, of course, because there were no eligible men out there. They were all 40 years old, unmarried, never been married, and, pretty much committed to that. Well, it took me a while to recognize in my blame, which is a good place to start when you're looking to heal something, right? Looking at my blame and to begin to go, where's this a pattern? This is kind of familiar. The face is different, the hair color is different, but it's a very familiar pattern. So I began to recognize what I was doing. I began to recognize what I was calling into my life by the reflection of that which I was seeing around me. And that's what we're talking about today, is this law of reflection and how life reflects back to us what we believe. And it's not in our relationship with individuals, it's with our relationship with money. It's our relationship with our health and our bodies. It's our relationship in our career and working with other people in the world. It is done unto us as we believe. That's one of the core beliefs that we have. It is done as we believe. And the important work that we do is that deeper work where we begin to start to see the reflections around us, and rather than blame the reflection in the mirror, we begin to look within and see why we're attracting that and why we've called that forward. So after I worked with that practitioner for a while, I began, like I say, to recognize this, and Zig Ziglar's famous quote came to my mind, I needed a checkup from the neck up. Remember that one? It was one of my favorites back when I first got into understanding this back in the 80s, and that was one of the things we would use in our jewelry store. It was like, oh, you need a checkup from the neck up. You better take your purse and your stinking thinking and go home. Zig Ziglar, love him. So I begin to realize the logical and non-preferential action of the law. Because it didn't really care, did it? That I said I wanted a relationship. What it was focusing on was that bigger belief that I had over here of unworthy, unlovable, unloving. Looking for someone to fulfill those needs, not for myself to do that, right? So there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect. I was not in alignment. But the universe was listening to this stronger voice of belief over here than this one. And that's what happens to us a lot, isn't it? We grow and we move in consciousness and we begin to believe that I want this. But we haven't grown into healing everything inside that's going to allow that to come forth. We're in the wah, aren't we? I want. So the prayer begins, I really want. And I want because it's not here. And when I want because it's not here, my prayer is really a prayer of lack. And the universe is going, oh, you like that feeling? Okay, I'll give you more lack. I'll give you more to want. You seem to like to be in wanting. And we teach affirmative spirituality, which is I affirm my wholeness, my oneness, my unity. I affirm my love of myself. I affirm. And we step into that affirmative truth, not the wah, wah, wah. Not the wah, wah, wah. So, as I say, the law was working just fine. And I finally got to that place where I realized how it was working. I understood it. I understood what I was doing. And I understood I needed to heal it. And you've all heard my story of how I met my wonderful spouse. And, it was 10 days after my transformation. What I didn't tell you was the rest of the iceberg below that was 3 years. There was 3 years of intensive work of really deciding what was lacking, what I believed was lacking. Deciding, did I really want to work on it? Did I really want to change it? Did I really want a relationship? Was I really willing to accept all that came with it? Did I? And when I began to answer those questions, I still had to go and do deeper work and heal that within me, which was not allowing it to come forward. Because one of the most profound statements that pissed me off long ago from a minister was, if you wanted a relationship, you'd have it. Huh, really? Really? So that brought it right back to me, didn't it? Brought it right back to me. And it brings it right back to you. That which you say you want in your life, want more of in your life, want greater expression of in your life, you would have it. There's something within you that's saying, maybe not. Maybe not. So I did the spiritual work. I journaled. And the reason I know it was 10 days after my transformation that I met my husband was that I was journaling it. I wrote that date down. It was a profound shift in my consciousness and my awareness. I knew I was okay. I loved myself. I loved my life. And I didn't close the door on a relationship, because that's the other thing we'll do sometimes, isn't it? Well, if I can't have it, I just won't have it, and I'll be fine where I am. Anybody had that attitude? I just don't look over there in those good things because I just can't have them. Doesn't work. So I got to a place where I'm okay, and I'm okay being single for the rest of my life. And I'm okay if someone wonderful comes forward and adds to my joy. But otherwise, I'm okay. And so out of that manifested a wonderful relationship, a wonderful partnership of contribution and sharing and love. And it works the same way across all areas of our lives. We're talking about relationship today, and we're talking about law of reflection today, but it applies to the law of our being, the law of our lives, and how it works. If we're trying to attract more financial good, we have to live from a place of prosperity. a place of prosperous thinking. We cannot look outside of ourselves and go, those people that drive those Mercedes Benz are just persnickety. We can't do that. We can't push it away and be judgmental about people who have wealth if we say we're trying to attract wealth. We can't be judgmental about the people in relationship, in an intimate relationship, if we say we want one and they're wrong for having one. It doesn't work that way, right? So recognizing where we do those things and pushing away our good, Living the science of mind, Ernest tells us, one of the keys of successful living and right relationships among people is that it is only when we are whole within ourselves that we can help others. It is only when we have faith that we can instill faith. It is only when we have hope and enthusiasm that others respond to us with equal hope and enthusiasm. We've all experienced this. You've been in a situation, in an interaction with someone, maybe a retail clerk, and they're having a bad day. If you meet them at that energy, what happens? You might have a bad day too. But if you meet them with enthusiasm and hope and positivity, you begin to elevate the situation, right? You begin to elevate the situation. So this entire process, 3 years, 10 days, proved the principles of this teaching to me. It was a transformation. Relationship was always that place in my life where I said, I got a flat tire. Remember me saying flat tires in our lives? We've got most of the things in our life working along really good, but there's that one area, and it might be health. It might be finance. It might be I can't keep a job. It might be relationship. It might be I got all that stuff going on, but I have no time for spirituality. So whatever that area of life is that's not quite as strong, that's what we're talking about. Ernest tells us life is a mirror, reflecting as the conditions, the images of our thinking. Whatever we think tends to take form and become part of the experience. It's easy to get lost in our circumstances, isn't it? Especially when they're being a little rough with us. Our new spiritual leader, Reverend Edward Villune, shared a story with us at his acceptance speech the next evening after he had been elected. And he was talking about this idea of how difficult it can be to stand in our truth and our knowingness when life gets a little rough. And he was in his room and got a phone call that his partner called him and said, "I've been hit by a car, come now, I'm at this intersection," and hung up. Imagine, you're in a strange city, it's a cold winter night, your beloved has just been hit by a car, come get me. So he ran down the street, and he was in a panic, as you can imagine, right? You don't know the condition of your partner. You see in the distance the lights in the intersection, and they're blaring, and the horns and everything is happening, and what has happened? There's no details. And he's racing there, and he's beside himself. He's not really present to principle in that moment. He's worried about his partner. And he gets to the intersection, and there's a lot of traffic happening, and he can't get to his partner. And the light is red. And he's got to wait. He's got to wait to cross. And he said, in that waiting, in that moment, he came to himself, much like the prodigal son. He came to himself, and he came to his realization. He came to the truth, and he began to pray. The light changed. He went across the intersection. He went to his partner, and he was fine. He was fine. But it was a profound statement for him to stand before those that had just elected him as the spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living worldwide, to stand there and say, it's not always easy. I know this. And it's not. We do know it because we experience our own stuff with it. When I was in Denver, I picked up the book that was our book of the month in January by Ernest Holmes, This Thing Called You, and I was looking for some stuff about this law of reflection that he has in there. And I found a quote that said, only that which you accept is yours to use. And it was like a gong went off inside of me. Only that which you accept is yours to use. And I began to journal. I wrote it down on the top of my journal page, and I began to journal about that quote. And I initially started out saying, I am not accepting all these negative things in my life. I'm not accepting. Whoops. So I lined that out, and I began to write, I am accepting those negative things in my life. I am accepting lack. I am accepting struggle. I am accepting not enoughness. Wow. They wouldn't be there otherwise. So I began to deepen into that, and I began to journal in the affirmative and go deeper with what has happened to my thinking that I would slide off, much like Dr. Edward did in the moment of fear. Fear took over for his partner. Concern for his partner took over. And our humanness. Thank God we're human, right? We get to play in this playground of the universe. But I was able to recognize in that simple quote, only that which we accept is ours to use. What are you using? What are you using? What have you said yes to that perhaps doesn't serve you? That perhaps doesn't serve you. Relationships are like mirrors and will always show us the things that we've tried to hide from ourselves, from others. Has a way of popping up, doesn't it? Has a way of popping up. So pay attention to your relationships and what they are reflecting back to you. Be it an intimate partnership, someone that you see every day, or the drivers on the road. Those are all relationships of how we experience life. What are they reflecting back to you? How are you reacting? Are they giving you positive feedback? Are they giving you negative feedback? I'm inviting you to look at your life and the areas of it that may not be quite so shiny and bright or joy-filled as you would like. And ask yourself some questions. What am I thinking about this? What am I thinking about this situation? What gift have I accepted? How am I using this law in my life? Have I accepted fear and negativity? Have I accepted these half-truths and unbeliefs? What are you accepting? So these are our practicing the principles today. That's basically what we're taking out of this. And the first is what is not as good in your life as you'd like it to be? What is not as good in your life as you'd like it to be? Take an inventory. Where have you limited yourself through your beliefs? I love that when we begin to really look at our beliefs and listen to our conversations and begin to see where we've said, this is enough. This is enough. This is good enough. Right? We're unlimited. We live in unlimited potentiality. Look at your life and where you've put limitations. Number 2, how are you currently using the law? Are you using it like I was, negatively? That which we have accepted to use? Are we accepting the limits and the negativity? Do you believe that there are good partners, great financial flow, super careers? Or not? Not in this market. No, not in this market. Not in this city. Number 3, I'm going to invite you to think for just a moment. Who really annoys you? Bring them to mind. Who really annoys you? Pick one thing that's most annoying about that person. One thing. Relationships can help us to see aspects of ourselves, can't they? Things that we might be blind to in our own reflection of ourselves. So where are you, or have you been that annoying thing that this person annoys you with? Sometimes when I'm driving down the road and someone does something quite unprofessional driving, if I'm conscious, I will ask myself, where have I done that? Oh, maybe when I was traveling in a state where I didn't live and I didn't know the roads very well and I made a sudden turn. Maybe I did. Maybe that was me. Maybe I did that. Yeah. Oh, maybe that day I was late for work. I was driving really a little too fast. Yeah, maybe I did that. Where have I been those things that I criticize in others? It's a wonderful reflection to look at. If I'm in a conversation and I'm feeling attacked, if I can get my ego in check and not attack back, right? Or not meet it with resistance, I can ask, what am I owning in this? What am I owning in this? Because if I don't believe, if some part of me doesn't believe the attack that's coming at me, the words I'm hearing, if some part of me doesn't believe them, I'm not even going to hear them, right? But if there's some part of me that believes them, that might be some place for deeper work for me. Living the Science of Mind tells us the mirror is simply something that reflects. You cannot scratch the reflection out of the mirror, but you can change the image in front of it. You are the image maker. So let us create new images which will reflect new patterns, and we must be definite in our conviction and deliberate in our aim if we expect happy results, for theories are no good unless they are applied. We are here to love. Our whole series this month has been about love, all the colors of love. We're here to love each other. We're here to love our planet. We're here to love God. The theme of the convention that I just attended was legacy and vision. I loved that. Honoring our legacy of Centers for Spiritual Living for almost 100 years and our founder and the teaching. That doesn't change. Honoring our leaders, honoring what has come before. Not losing that, and yet stepping also into a vision of 2020, of growth and a future and newness and freshness. New thought has always been leading edge thought. Where are we leading edge today? Our legacy is love. Our legacy is inclusivity. There's a big push in our organization right now for inclusivity and diversity and all this. And it's like, we've always been inclusive and diverse. Ernest Holmes licensed the first religious science practitioner in 1920. She was a woman, right? He had no reservations whatsoever about accepting all into religious science. All, irregardless of race, color, religious background, age, or sexual orientation. It does not matter. Our legacy, our vision is love. Would you join me in prayer? Just breathing into the love in this room right now. We recognize that we are one. One in this race called humanity, one in God. And so we recognize the power, the presence of this infinite love, of God itself, the one presence, the one power, the one life and energy that is all that is. It is the peace and the order and the harmony that is at our very soul of each of us, that we crave so much in the world surrounding us. And so as we connect with that love, we connect with that peace and that wholeness, we recognize that we are one in the one. Forever unity, forever one, forever whole. And so in that place, I speak my word for and about each of us, knowing that we are love. We are here to love, to be love. And with ourselves, with each other, with our planet, with every human being and every species, every rock, every leaf, every weed, everything on it. We are one. Created in the one mind of God. And so I bless us today as we step into that love, to being that expression of it. I bless us today on our powerful spiritual journeys, knowing that as we look at life reflecting back to us, what a beautiful system we live in to have that. Imagine if we didn't. I know the willingness in each heart to open to look at and recognize those reflections. As we stand in community together, I bless this community. I bless all who are here now, who have come before, and who are on their way to us, knowing the perfection of all. This is a divine idea in the mind of God, revealing itself powerfully through each one of us. And so I know for anyone that has anything on their heart this day, as they lift that into their awareness, we lift them and this into prayer right here, right now, knowing, claiming, and accepting the perfect unfoldment of whatever the ask is, whatever the answer needs to be, knowing that it is revealed, it is healed, whatever that might be. And it is with a grateful heart and acceptance of this prayer that I release it into the activity of law, the action of mind, knowing that the law works in perfection, always, in all ways. And we affirm this together by saying, and so it is.